Hello BookTube, it's Leah Cooper, and today I am bringing you my January 2019 TBR. It's the first TBR of the year, unlike last year, where I kind of started off the year in a reading slump, which just haunted me for 3/4 of last year. I am going to try really hard to start off the year well, reading strong, meeting my kind of basic reading goals, and yeah, so let's get started. So I went ahead and set my Goodreads reading goal this year at 52 books, so that I only have to read one book a week. And I'm hoping that that is only going to be a basic goal. Last year I read 52 books, despite my reading slump. The year before that I read 117 books. So I'm hoping that this year maybe I fall closer to 2017's reading. But I'm going to start off with what I know is a very doable goal, and I'll reevaluate sometime in the summer, see how I'm doing. Or I'll reevaluate it when I hit 52 books. Another one of my reading goals is to read more things that I own already in primarily physical copies, but also I am aware that I have a lot of unread books, especially a lot of unread indie books on my Kindle that I should be making more of an effort to read. So we'll start with the library books I have out that I want to read in January, and then I'll talk about things I might pull from my personal collection. So first off, I've already started reading this. It's Space Opera by Catherine Valente. This is Valente's newest book. It came out midway through last year, and it is a science fiction novel about kind of, it's like that Rick and Morty episode where Rick and Morty have to compete in Alien Eurovision for the fate of the Earth. That's what I gather this book is. I'm 40-ish pages into it right now. I was really hoping I'd be like almost done with it by the end of the year because I've been reading this for about 4 days. So far, I'm not gonna lie, this book has put me to sleep, literally to sleep twice. The second time, I needed to reset my sleep schedule and I wasn't tired. So I purposely picked this book up because I knew it would put me to sleep. Doesn't bode well for it. I'm going to give it another, I'm going to give it to about page like 100, I think, to see if it picks up, because I'm only on page 40. And I'll admit, I wasn't actually interested in this book, but I was at my library and Valente is one of my favorite living authors. And I saw it in the new releases section, so I just picked it up. I know a lot of people like it, but we'll see. The next thing I have checked out from my library that I want to get to is something that's been on my TBR for probably a year. I want to say I saw this book over on Maya's channel, and that is The Dream Quest of Velvet Bow by Kij Johnson. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce their first name. This is a Tor.com novella. It is a retelling of, or like, it's set in the world of one of H.P. Lovecraft's stories. It just says commentary on a classic H.P. Lovecraft tale. So I'm not entirely sure how it fits in, but I thought the fact that it was kind of a diverse commentary on H.P. Lovecraft, who, while he did create a lot of really interesting worlds and creatures and thoughts on weird fantasy, he's very problematic. So I've had this on my radar. I really wanted to read it. I went and picked it up. I just broke my ban on getting library books last month, and I picked it up. So I want to get to that. After that, I've got another novelette, and that is The Five Daughters of the Moon. It's somewhere between it's like a novelette, and this is by Lena Licatello. This is a duology, the first book in a duology. I think it's a retelling of Russian folklore, a fantastical retelling inspired by the Romanov family right around the Revolution. I've heard that this first book isn't super good, but the second one is really good, and this sets up for the second one. I want to say I first heard about this over on Kelsey's channel, over at the Fancy Hat Lady Reads. And I'm gonna give this a go. Even if this is a 3-star, it's really short, and like I said, I've heard that the second one is really good, so we'll try it out. Plus, this cover is so pretty, and I've been really into fairy tales, folklore. Like, this is just like the perfect thing to be reading, I think, during the winter time, you know. Then, the last thing I have checked out from the library, this is much more of a, I may or may not get to this. At the very least, I'll give it a try. And that is The Queens of Innis Lear by Tessa Gratton. So everyone is reading this, I feel like, on Goodreads. I didn't really have any intention of reading it. King Lear's not one of my favorite Shakespearean plays, but this is available in my new releases section of my library, so I decided to just grab it while I was there. Libraries are dangerous places, folks. Support your local library. This is huge. This is a fantasy novel, obviously inspired by King Lear. It is 575-ish pages, and it's pretty, I don't think you can really see this, maybe a little bit. It's pretty dense for a hardcover, so it's probably a lot of words. I've heard quite good things about this, though. So, I mean, it is popular, but people seem to be liking it. People whose taste I feel a little bit more trustworthy of. So, like I said, I think I'm going to give it a go, as long as I have time. I'll try 100 or 200 pages, see if I at least enjoy the writing style or the characters or something. If there's something that grips me, I'll go ahead and finish reading it. If not, you know, I will have given it a try. It's kind of my thought process there. Then, for books that I own, the first thing I do want to get read off of my shelf, and one thing I'm going to be trying to do, and I've been trying to do it kind of this last month, even though I had library books, is to alternate reading a book that I own with a book from the library, not counting either new releases that I have been on hold for freaking ever that I need to get read before the holds expire, and not counting audiobooks, just because I don't own audiobooks. And I almost always have an audiobook going at the same time that I'm like reading an actual, like I'm reading a book. So one of the things I think I'll be alternating with is Oathbreakers, which is by Mercedes Lackey. It's book 2 in the Vows and Honors duology. I mean, I think there is maybe a third book, but I think the third book is a book of short stories in this reality. This is the sequel to the Oathbound, which I read in November, and I talked about in my November wrap-up. Classic women's feminist fantasy. I gave this like a 3 stars. I had a lot of issues with it, primarily how rape is handled in this book. Didn't really like it. I picked up both of these books for like $1 a piece at a clearance table, so I do want to get this read because I am curious to see if like the same themes carry over into this one, if it's like as prevalent in this book. I think these books were written close together, so it probably is, but I want to see, and I bought it, so like I have to at least give it a go. The one thing I will say about the Oathbound is I did like Mercedes Lackey's writing, other than some of the themes and plots that she did. And I even quite liked the 2 characters. And the plots were kind of great. I liked the vignette style of this book. This was told in like a series of short story kind of adventures that linked together. I just didn't like some of the themes. Since I own it, I'll give it a go. So the next thing for sure I think I'd like to get to in January, assuming I have time, this is kind of a big TBR, it's shaping up to be a big TBR, is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So this was on my latest books I didn't get to in 2018 video. It is on a previous 5-star predictions video from 2017. I know everyone loves it. I think I'll love it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on this TBR. Then, if there's any time left over, I don't really think there will be at this point. Especially if I like read this chunker. But if there is, some things from my collection that I've got lying around that I could pick up include Mossflower by Brian Jakes. This is not chronologically the first in the Redwall series, but it is the first. It's not even the first one he published, because it says the triumphant prequel to Redwall. I think Redwall was the first one he published, but this is the prequel to Redwall, and it is one of the older ones, and it is about when Martin saved Redwall Abbey from Zarina. One of the things I'd like to do is I have a few Redwall books. I loved these books as a kid. I used to read them when I was in like 5th, 6th grade. They are children's books. They're kind of medieval adventures starring woodland creatures. in an epic fantasy world. I've been kind of going through books that I loved as a kid that I would still recommend and rereading them to see if I would actually still recommend them, like see how I feel about them now. And Redwall is definitely one of those series that I need to take another look at as an adult. So I could pick this up. Who knows? Another thing I could pick up if I'm feeling like it is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I talked about in my books I didn't get to in 2018 video that I didn't get to this, and I didn't get to Mansfield Park either. So I could also pick up Mansfield Park. I'm hesitant to do that. Like, I'm torn. Okay. So Mansfield Park's like probably my least favorite Austen. Sense and Sensibility, I love the movie. I wasn't a huge fan of the book, but I read this when I was really, really young. I don't necessarily think my opinion of Mansfield Park will have changed all that much because I was a teenager when I read this. I wasn't a kid. It could change because my opinion of Persuasion has changed over the years. I don't know. I think this is going to be a really slow read, but at the same time, I don't really want to end my Austen reread on Mansfield Park because I know I'm probably not going to be super into it. Who knows? I might not get to either of these. Like, these 3 books are kind of my, if I'm got a lot of time left over, I guess I'll give them a go. Actually, I almost forgot. There's one other thing I have out from the library, and I'm definitely going to get this read in the first couple of days of the month. I might even read this like tomorrow. And that is Saga Volume 9. Let me know if you've read any of these books or you think about picking them up or what you're really excited to read in January, and I'll see you guys in the next video.